repeat that again this week, don't you?
We do. It's like you beat the number 2 team at their place, and then it's like, what do you got for them, Johnny? Well, you get number 1 at home. So, yeah, we'll continue that theme, and I think it's realistic. I think really what we did was we just found ways to absolutely go for some stuff, and then we had a good setup, and then the players played great. Our offense was tremendous last week, and especially being on the road. And I'm thankful for it because that was a really good team. That was an Omaha type team that we played that was 24-1 at home. So the players played great. We're still talking about the marginal growth with some pitching pieces, and Vail and Herberholtz have continued to give us competitive starts, and that means a lot. But now you get the number 1 team in the country at home, but we need it. We needed to build a resume. We needed to see how good we are. We needed to see if we can absolutely get back in the hunt and be competitive in this great league. So we'll embrace it once again, and we're going to see the best pitcher in America tomorrow. So that's a challenge, and can we figure out any strategies to be competitive? And if we feel like we're swinging it good and we're seeing the best guy in the country, what a great measuring stick for us. I think we're sold out all weekend. We got an Eagle flight. How amazing is that for the first time ever at Plainsman Park? So it's a good fun time, and I hope our fans, I know they're going to show up, but I'm going to ask them to show out and create an amazing experience. It should be a fun time at the ballpark, and we've been exams all week. Hopefully the guys are ready to get back on the baseball field. We got graduation, a lot going on this weekend, and congratulations to all our graduates here, our student athletes, and all of our students at Auburn. That's a big deal, getting that Auburn degree handed to you, something that impacts you and is positive for the rest of your life. So congratulations to those guys. And then it's going to be an exciting weekend of college baseball that's right here at Plainsman Park.
What's your rotation for this weekend?
We'll go Alsop, Vail, Herberholtz, and it's not just the obvious of Skeens. It's 3 weeks. There's a lot of things to process and think about. These guys have gone 3 or 4 weeks and averaged 80+ pitches. Both guys threw over 90 pitches last week. It buys them another day from that workload. The Skeens thing kind of, to me, when I really started thinking about the possibility of this on Monday, it made me start really wanting to move toward that. Vail has given us our longest outings in ball games, and so maybe it helps our bullpen as well, the Friday, Sunday deal, and if you're getting your longest starter, if you could put them on Saturday, maybe that's to our benefit. Moving these last 2 weekends to Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, I just thought it was a good time for Vail and Herberholtz to get another day. We can't make this march and do what we want to do to try to get to the SEC tournament, to try to get any hopes of getting into postseason. We're going to need Chase Alsop to be in the middle of that. I don't think there's any way around it. So coming off of what was one of his best, most competitive outings the last month or so in conference play, it's the right time to do it with him. We introduced a new slider grip that we thought played a little bit better. Thought he was in the zone much more competitive, so it's the right time to do it from that standpoint. And so a lot of different factors, but we'll go Alsop, Vail, and Herberholtz for this weekend.
What's your message to Alsop? He's a guy that has immense talent. What's the message to him heading into this start?
Just like we started, it's opportunity. And never giving up. Players are allowed to get better. We've seen it time and time with others. We've seen, we drew a line right here on the second half, and we won 2 weekends in a row. And I just see it as an opportunity. I hope he sees it, that his team still believes in him, his coaching staff still believes in him. He's absolutely got the talent, and I think at some point the talent has to hook up for us to make this thing realistic. So this just shoving him in the deal and telling him I think he's coming off an outing where he can go out and have success against an amazing lineup. So I hope he receives it the right way. He seems excited, these are decisions you don't make on Thursday at the press conference. These are decisions that's got to be made on Monday because it affects days of bullpens. And if you're trying to get these guys another day that had to start earlier in the week. So he's known about it for a few days here, and we, got his bullpen set up for him to start. This is how we wanted to start the season, and it just seems like it's evolved back around to that opportunity. And hopefully not just Chase, but other pitchers see, other players see that if you just keep competing and keep fighting, that you'll get opportunities again moving forward. So this is a great example of that.
With the series moving to Thursday through Saturday the next 2 weeks, does this mean it'll be Vail, Herbold, Saturday, Sunday the next 2 weeks?
We'll see. You can line it up and give it away, and I think you play it a certain way, but I don't. Our club is not afforded the opportunity to look past this series.
Right.
So we'll absolutely line it up. I'm the only one that's allowed right now, I think, to have any telescopic views. Everybody else needs to stay in the microscope, and I think everybody's fine with that and understands that. And then, absolutely, you get through this series, and I can have a long-term plan, and then it can adjust on a dime. And I just think we line it up this way with the potential of hopeful, coach looking in a telescope, that this could be a path. And but we'll have to wait and see how the weekend plays out to see if, all right, yes, let's hook it up, keep going that way. That's what I want, to be honest with you, Brian. But we'll absolutely, other than that, the setup, we'll just look at this weekend, play this weekend out, and then see if there's any adjustments. And may not be hopeful to ride it out this way, but I have to look past the weekend, but we'll take the body of work that plays out this weekend and see if we need to pivot, adjust, or stay the course.
But you did South Carolina lineup last weekend. LSU, you talked about length in the lineup. They may have as much length as anybody, and then some superstars in the middle. Just talk about what you see from their offense.
They do. They might have the two best players in college baseball. One's in center field, one will pitch tomorrow night. But they got a lot more than that. When you start talking about a position player like Tommy White, has over 75 RBI. Trey Morgan, a guy that's been in this league for forever. Thompson's been around playing shortstop for him. Dugas, whenever I see him come to the plate, I don't care what his numbers are. I just know it's a complete lineup. Beloso, they got a few left-handed hitters in there, primarily right-handed, and Cruz is absolutely the guy. But if you play that card too much, you got White hitting right behind him with all the guys so if you just walk Cruz, then that's where Tommy's had all these guys to knock in. It did feel that way last week with Petrie. That guy had already hit 20 home runs, and I thought we did a nice job with him for the weekend. But the guy hitting right behind him was good. I think we got some good practice last week. What was our guy last week that hit right behind? Messina. He swung it better than anybody on their team for the 3-game series. So you got Petrie there, and you got Messina right behind him. This is a version, if not better. It's incredible to think of. But we had some rehearsal of some of those strategies last week, and just Cruz and White back-to-backs as good as there is in America. The other thing I'd say about LSU is they're good late. I hope that's an advantage playing at Plainsman Park for us, but their offense just keeps coming like in waves. So these are 9-inning, if not more, affairs for us, where I think they got a little more juice up and down their lineup and can get you at any point in time. We definitely have some focal points, but they have enough veterans and stuff that can get you. And I think I've been most impressed about preparing for their lineup is their ability to keep coming late offensively. And I think they've done that. I think some of these teams, I look at a Kentucky and Alabama series where those teams felt like they had a chance to be competitive and win a series, and maybe they lose 2 out of 3 or get swept, but they feel like they're in games and part of them. But the LSU has got a relentless spirit to their offense that I think I've noticed in preparation this week. So we got to keep going. We got to keep playing, and they're very offensive.
What makes skiing so tough? Obviously, everybody knows about the fastball, throwing over 100 late into games. But is there more to that? I'm sure there's more to his repertoire than just that.
Usually is, right? So I look at it from a standpoint of when somebody is really, really special. I take a Casey Mize as an example for us. it was a split finger. I do think Skeens is a fastball, and that slider's nothing to laugh at either. So you want to get on and stay on and keep competing against a plus fastball, but there's always more than that. There's guys with good talent. You can look at every SEC roster and see, well, this guy throws 98, but Paul Skeens throws 98 to 100. But, you know, I got to talk to him a couple of times in the recruiting process. I was really impressed with the makeup, character, parents. Saw a lot of humility there. So I think he's intact upstairs too. So you got to grade that out, and I graded it out and felt that it was extremely high. Much like Casey Mize, Casey's junior year, it was like 116 strikeouts and about 14 or 15 walks. I think Skeens, just for an example, in conference play, I think it's about 76 strikeouts and about 6 or 7 walks. So it's not just the guy's got stuff. I think the guy's got makeup, and I think the guy can shove it in strike zone. That's when you start putting elite talent with elite command, and somebody that frontal lobe is attached really well, and that makes you really, really good. I thought we had that with Burkhalter last year. I think that was probably right at 70 strikeouts and 7 or 8, 9 walks. Man, when you start putting elite talent with elite command and a lot of character and gamesmanship and mentally intact, that's where you start getting these special players. That's what I see when I get Skeens. But, you know, at the same time, I think there's a path. I think there's a path, and I think we're swinging it well right now. I think we've won a couple of series in a row. We're trying to talk ourselves into being the best version of ourselves, and our season comes down to right now. This second half, we're going to give every bit of spirit to it, and I think there's a path. But I'm just the last few years talking to recruits and watching players like I watch the whole league when we're not playing. I watch it all, and I was impressed with him as I've been with anybody in the last few years. And his stuff's better. I think spin, command, I think his stuff has ticked up from even where it was last year. I think everybody knew he was one of the best potential gets in the recruiting cycle last year as far as a transfer, but I think his stuff has even ticked up from last year.
Kind of a two-parter. You know, you mentioned that you need your guys, I guess, locked in weekend to weekend, but just, you know, how have you seen them kind of take the momentum of last week and sort of channel it?
It's good. Hadn't seen them as much. We got back, we practiced Monday, took Tuesday off, got back on the field yesterday. I just think they know. I think they're carrying themselves well. I think they got the right outlook. It doesn't feel like they got a lot of weight in their backpack. But these guys have been finishing exams. I imagine they've been up a little later. They've been really focused on these tests and stuff. But yesterday they looked great. They moved around, good energy, see them connecting, fist bumping, all that stuff that lets me know they're in a good place. And last week was a tall order. They did great. And this week, I just results doesn't let you know if you're intact or not. You can tell by how they're going. So hopefully they're doing good in their exams and getting past them. And hopefully they're excited to play for 3 weeks where they're not a student anymore. They're going to feel like minor league ball players for a few weeks, and hopefully that's fun for them to really, you know, keep focused. But every club's probably experiencing that. But we tried not to overdo it with them, and we really tried to hook it back up yesterday. Today's another day, and we're starting to zone in now. But it just seems like they're pretty free and they're in a good state, even though they've had all these exams, and some of the seniors are thinking about graduation stuff. But I know they're excited for this series coming up.
Yeah, and then you mentioned too last weekend maybe getting a bit of a dress rehearsal, so to speak, with some of the things you wanted to, you know, try out this weekend. How often do you get sort of that set up to where you can actually maybe get a sort of dress rehearsal or to, you know, prepare, so to speak, for, you know, things down the road like that, and just how big is that?
Yeah, it's big. I just look at the SEC period as getting through these 10 weekends. If you can do enough and stay in the game and get a chance to keep playing, you know, anybody can come out and carve you up. It's baseball. But you will have not seen better. than having to go. I mean, South Carolina's put back together right now. I'm impressed with them. They've had an amazing year, and that crowd was relentless, and they were going to make it really hard for us to sweep them, even though how close it was. They were fully engaged in game 3, and we got their best. Seeing a Paul Skeens was huge. You know, we've been chasing something since that first weekend. You know, if you look at where we're at, that Arkansas and McMurray's on my right, standing there looking, and Pierce is on my left, and Foster's on the field, but he barely can walk. You know, we're a little more put together now, so that happens, and you feel like the pitching has grown just modestly, but a tick, getting a little bit better, and it's made us more competitive. It just happens that you're playing these couple of guys, and I think the bigger challenge is not LSU. I think the bigger challenge is we got 9 games left, and I don't care what you say. I do not care about a record in this league. These are SEC ball players, SEC coaching staffs. Next week's going to be the defending national champion. I don't care what you write or what you say. I know. And the same thing with Missouri. That swept Tennessee opening weekend. That's what makes our league the best there is. And we've got to get to a certain point, and I want our people to know that. Our coaches know it. They've been around the league. Our veterans know it. Case and Howell knows it. Bobby Pierce knows it. Nate LaRue knows it. It's getting all these young guys to know. I told them before this thing started it was going to be hard. It is. Last year was hard. Every year's hard. But the advantage of an SEC ball club is how prepared you are. If you can get there, and if you can get a chance to keep going and playing in the postseason, only 4 teams stand in your way, number one, and your journey of what you had to see and what you had to fight through, at least for me, feels like it's been an advantage for our teams.
I know John and Zach both weren't available to pitch last weekend. Just, I guess, what's kind of the status report on both?
Yeah, they're both back. Crotchfeld was a back, and he threw a bullpen yesterday, and John threw yesterday, and we'll throw again today. So I would assume both of them will be back active for us this week. I think we just used John a ton. He stepped in the gap and took the ball every day, so his makes a ton of sense to me. I thought Crotchfeld was unbelievable at Alabama. That was the best he had thrown. It was in relief. It was awesome. And then it just started a little back stuff, and we snuck him a couple little outings there, and it just didn't come out the same. But I think the week off for him, and we looked under the hood a little more at Zach just to make sure. So we got some confidence from knowing that there was really nothing there, and just let it calm down. I think both guys getting to calm down their injuries for a week, and John just to take a break, I think really has given us an opportunity to have them both back this week.
I know you talked about John before, but I wanted to ask you, as far as just guys to have that unique of a delivery, have you ever coached a guy who has a delivery that looks like his?
Yeah, I used to do camps. That was kind of our deal. When I first saw it, it was Coach Tanner. When they went back-to-back, they played for 3 national championships in a row, and he had like 2 or 3 of them. I mean, those guys, and the game's changed, I know that, but back in 2009 and 10, those guys were getting 40-plus appearances. I like John Armstrong, what he brings to the table so much. I wish I had 2 more like him, like Tanner did. And when I saw that as a pitching coach in the SEC, I'm like, all right, we need this piece. We don't have this piece. And I saw him winning those championships. So we started doing a drop-down camp for 5 or 6 years in a row. I started doing a drop-down camp, and 75 of these kind of guys would come to camp, and it was awesome. And I used Scott Sullivan, who's an Auburn grad. I was actually at Mississippi State at the time. I used Scott Sullivan and Chad Bradford from Moneyball. So those are my 2 instructors, and I would bring them in, and we had these drop-down camps, and we started acquiring some of those guys. So we've always had them, and I love to use them. But I'm sure John, maybe more than me, John's probably going like, I wish we had a couple more guys like me. And so hopefully we build out to that. You know, we had Jordan Armstrong was a similar type guy like that last year. So we've always had him on our staff, and we got to get a few more for John, because we definitely use them. Like I said, I saw it with Tanner. we made a commitment to do camps for years for those guys, and just that uniqueness can present a more challenging at bat. And if you can shove it in the zone now, I see the return of the sinker ball to try to get somebody out of the air, and those guys like John Armstrong and others in his category, I kind of see a resurgence where those guys can play big roles for college pitching staff.
For him to be fleshed out in that role as a sophomore, last one I promise, but
No, you're good.
for him to be so fleshed out in that role as a sophomore, I mean, just how big is that for him to be kind of where he is so young?
Yeah, I'm proud of him. We didn't use him for like 7 weeks last year. We used him a little bit early, then used him late. And those guys run their own show. There's no pitching coach going to say, hey, you need to do this or that. And, you know, there's some principles of stabilizing that weaker position, you know, because it's posture oriented and you're still trying to keep a relationship of hand, elbow, and shoulder. You're just doing it in a weaker position. If it was a stronger position, everybody would walk around like that. So there are some teaching principles, but really those guys they're running their own show. And usually you get a strong-minded guy there that knows what he's doing. And, I think he's done great. I still think there's a little bit of growth for him, but just being unique and how those guys wind up running their own show at a higher rate than maybe a traditional guy is exciting to coach a guy that is John's style.
You got some good granddad time this week.
I did. I stayed back from the team last Thursday for about 8 or 10 hours to hold the baby for 2 minutes. They let me go in first, so I got to be the first outsider besides mom and dad and hold that baby. Get to Columbia. When we got back, I bribed them, and it was their first time out of the house. And I said, I will cook burgers if y'all come. And so I cooked burgers, but I got to sit on that couch Monday night for like 45 minutes and hold that baby. It was pretty special. And then I had to buy another meal last night. We had Mexican last night, but just to hold that baby. So I think it's going to cost me some money to get to see that baby. But Robin and I are over the moon, and everybody's doing great. And it's just a beautiful little baby. I don't know what it was. I was too young or whatever at the time with our girls, and this is perfect. I get to hold them, and then like I don't have to change a diaper, and I can give them back. So everybody's been telling me I'm gonna be this is gonna be incredible. But we're kind of over the moon and pretty special. So it does a good job of putting all this baseball and all this crazy stuff going on in perspective when you get to hold a little baby like that. So thank you for asking. That's kind of the highlight of what's going on in our lives right now.
Since we're done with the baseball questions, but you brought it up, what's your Mexican restaurant? Because everybody has one. Everybody has their restaurant.
Yeah, I think the girls like the Acapulco. I like the one that's on down on the right a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Right by the interstate?
No.
The
Right
road
here on College.
Right,
It's big.
it's across from Walmart.
El Dorado.
Yeah.
Those are just my buddies. That's where me and Randall used to go. So I don't know if it's the best, but that's where me and Randall used to go. We went out to Tiger Town last night. They wanted to go to, Olivia wanted to go to
The one out there.
El
Patron.
Patron,
yeah.
The new
Yeah.
one, yeah. Or
Okay.
newer one in the corner there.
Yep. So we went there, and it's the first time I've ever been there. It was good.
Yeah.
Man, like a steak fajita. It was really good. But that was
Taco
on-
Vello's the little shack on Waverly Parkway. That's what I go to.
And we are Laredo people, so there you go.
Okay.
That's a granddaughter, right?
Everybody has their own.
Huh?
Everybody has
Granddaughter?
their own, but I don't think any of them are better than the
Mary
others. That's
Gail.
my hot
It's
take.
Durango's.
Yeah.
Durango's
Like,
best one.
they're all good, but none of them are just